This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. Tonight, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation celebrates the hijab. It's just so sensuous and such a source of empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, so this surreal, bizarre, frightening surrender continues to the totalitarian and terrorist forces that are waging war on our civilization, that want to destroy our civilization, that want to destroy all of our freedoms. And there's a certain worshiping that's going on now of this totalitarian entity. And it's happening all the time. So now the Australian Broadcasting Corporation on its website, very expectedly, celebrated the hijab as sensuous and a source of empowerment. On its website, they've got this writer on there, Claire Nichols, and she writes a piece on the Western Sydney poet Miriam Azam, and how this Western Sydney poet, Miriam Azam, she's exploring the modern experience of wearing the hijab. And for Azam, the experience of wearing the hijab can mean many different things. And so she writes in there about how at times the headscarf is soft and sensuous, and at other times it's a symbol of power. It's hard to get through some of this stuff when those of us who are fighting for human rights and fighting for true empowerment of women have to see this going down. Just a few thoughts here that came to my mind. This is a poet, a poetess. I'm just wondering, Miss Azam, if you're a poetess, I looked in the article, I didn't see you mentioning your thoughts on how your prophet ordered the assassination of the poetess Asma bint Marwan and the poet Abu Afaq. He had both of those poets, the poetess Marwan and the poet Afaq, assassinated. I'm just wondering why Azam did not mention these poets and what the Prophet Muhammad did to them. I searched this article for the mentioning of Aqsa Parvez, 16-year-old girl in Toronto back in 2008. A very famous, tragic case. 16-year-old girl Aqsa Parvez was murdered by her father and her brother because she didn't want to wear the hijab. Why didn't the article mention Aqsa? And by the way, yes, this happened 10 years ago, and it always matters. It doesn't matter that it happened 10 years ago. We mention it because it's a famous case. But Aqsa represents hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, millions of women, either murdered, either raped, mutilated, maimed, acid attacks, or simply just suffering under Islamic gender apartheid. Aqsa Parvez represents millions of these women that are suffering under Islamic law, and what happens to these women when they don't wear the hijab. Why didn't this article that we're mentioning and that I'm mentioning mention Aqsa Parvez and all the women suffering? The producer of this show, Annie Cyrus, is very busy working 24/7 to shed light on all the suffering women and girls in the world today who are suffering under Islamic law, and especially on her home country of Iran. And as Annie has been very active about and has shed light on, so many Iranian women and girls in Iran at this moment are being butchered and raped and murdered for not wearing the hijab. Why didn't this article in the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's website mention any of this while it's lauding the hijab? I strongly suggest all of you to go to Robert Spencer's website, Jihad Watch, to keep an eye on all of these things. Robert Spencer is the leading scholar and humanitarian activist that's on top of all of this. Now go to his article, do a Google search, Robert Spencer, Australian Broadcasting Corporation lauds hijab as sensuous source of empowerment. And in that article, Robert documents many, many, many cases of the women and girls that have been murdered because they dared not to wear the hijab. And these women and girls include Muslim women and girls, as well as non-Muslim women and girls. Everyone suffers under Sharia that is under Sharia. And what a shame that this continues today, that this article that I'm focusing on today, like so many articles, it celebrates and it's in awe of a totalitarian practice. Because, ladies and gentlemen, in Quran 24:31 and 33:59, it is very clear that hijab is mandatory. And that's why the women under Sharia have to wear the hijab. And if they don't, there's severe ramifications. And as humanitarians, as people who care, we need to be on the side of the victims. We need to be on the side of the women and girls that are suffering because of this totalitarian and misogynist law against women. But this quote-unquote poetess, Miriam Azam, it's very clear what she's doing. This is expected. She's ingratiating herself with her potential executioners, okay? Because she knows what will happen to her if she doesn't wear the hijab or if she tries to leave Islam. So she's ingratiating herself with her potential executioners. But the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and Claire Nichols, this author, what a betrayal. What a betrayal of the women that you're pretending that you're on the side of. But it's very, very clear who are the real lovers of Muslim people and who are the people that pretend that they're for Muslim people, but they actually betray them in the most shameless, shameful, and callous and heartless sense. I dedicate this program to the memory of Aqsa Parvez, 16-year-old girl that was murdered by her father and her brother in Toronto in 2008 because she wanted to be free and she didn't want to wear the hijab. And those of us with true love in our hearts and true caring for Muslim people and for Muslim women and girls should be thinking of Aqsa Parvez every day and should be working 24/7 to try to protect the future Aqsa Parvezes, the present Aqsa Parvezes, from suffering that fate. We'll see you on the next Jamie Glazov moment. Good night.